It is once again time to get you hooked. Welcome inside another edition of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. Alongside head coach Mack Brown, I'm Bob Ballou. We're missing our quarterback, little pulled hammy, second straight week. It's happened to CJ Baxter. It's happened to Vince Young.
Got to fight through it, Vince. Got to fight through it. Step up, man.
He'll be all right. He'll be all right. He's good. We'll get our quarterback back next week as we get set for Vanderbilt and get ready for that showdown in Austin. But first, we got to talk a lot of things Mississippi State. At the end of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the coaching carousel and some of the things going on there. And then this first segment, we're going to get into that 16-13 double overtime win against Kentucky, or overtime win against Kentucky. What an interesting night for Texas in so many different aspects. And there's so much to get into. Where do you want to start? What sounds good to you? Because I think you can go down 15 different roads right now with this Texas football team. Where do you want to start?
Okay, I'm the coach. Sark said on Monday, winning's hard. To have a great season, you've got to win some really tough games, usually on the road, where you don't look very good at times. You've got to win 2 of the 3 phases to win the game. They did. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable kicking game.
Ryan Miller's been awesome.
But all 3.
Yeah. Shipley,
Bowmaster.
Yeah.
Ball at the 9, ball at the 5. The punt returns, they're a factor now. They've got confidence. They know they can score on special teams, which they know that field position is going to make a difference. Defense, 1 of 3 on 4th downs, coming up with the goal line stand, but also the 4th down stop at the 16. Those are points. So I thought Sark did a great job on a day where the offense wasn't working of not losing the game. You didn't throw interceptions. You didn't turn it over. It wasn't pretty. It's one of those days where you look at the play sheet and say, ooh, nothing looks good.
What can I run?
We're not running the ball well. We're not protecting well, but we're not going to turn the ball over because they're going to have trouble scoring. And that was the formula to win this game. And really, the head coach's job each week is to figure out how to win the game. You don't get beauty points. If you're at Texas A&M and you win 48-45, then you're mad at your defense.
Right. But
they won the game on the road against Arkansas. If you're Memphis and you lose to UAB with an interim coach, and UAB's been a horrible team, what do you think? You're sitting there right after the game saying, where did we miss it? What happened? Sark knew what Kentucky was going to be like. He's got some of the same issues this week with Mississippi State. So my point is, what a great win for Texas when things didn't all go right. When it goes right, you can sit there. When you can call anything on the sheet, you just pitch it over there and say, number 4, let's take a number 7. Oh, we hadn't had a reverse yet. Let's run a reverse because this is just so much fun. Everything's going good. Those are easy, man. And I had a bunch of those. When nothing looks good, nothing looks good, then you got to figure out a way to win. And I thought that was the best thing, whether it's team chemistry, the defense not getting frustrated with the offense, not pointing fingers, not getting in fights on sidelines, coaches handling it. The culture of this team seems really good to me, and that gives them a chance to win when things aren't all working. And Oklahoma, the first half, the offense didn't work, but the second half, with defense, with special teams, offense came alive. And that's what we're talking about with this team. The concern that Sark would have right now is I thought we had our identity on offense for Oklahoma. Same problems popped up on Saturday night. Right. So sometimes the problems you got are the problems you got.
15 carries for 50 yards.
Yeah, you can't run the ball. If you can't run the ball on the road, normally you get beat. Yep. The good thing is Kentucky couldn't either.
Right. And it's interesting because you lose Cole Hudson. Now you've got Connor Robertson center and Nick Brooks at guard. And that's obviously there were some struggles there. Couldn't run the ball again, which has been a problem. Maybe they're going to get CJ Baxter back this week. Maybe that helps a little bit. But there's still so many questions. I do think it's okay. I know there's a lot of yelling about a lot of different things with Texas football right now. And I want to ask you about Sark's play calling. I want to ask you about some of the decisions he makes in terms of what he's changed to get this team to win the last 2 games the way he has. But how about this defense? To be on the field for 86 plays and to come away with giving up only 13 points, but maybe more importantly, to see Colin Simmons start to look like Colin Simmons again, to see Anthony Hill look a little bit more like Anthony Hill, to get a great pick, a 4th down stop. He was fabulous. How big a step was that for the defense just to get itself back in the – I know they did it against Oklahoma, but to get Colin Simmons in back-to-back weeks rolling again, to see Anthony Hill playing like we know he can play, how big a step is that for the defense?
It's a huge step. Number one, if your defense is out there 87 plays, you usually get beat. Time of possession is not important if it's close. When it's that different in number of plays, you usually lose the game. And that hurts the running game because you only run it a few times. You don't have it. You don't have the ball. Secondly, it shows that the staff has done a tremendous job of recruiting because they got depth. Mm-hmm. You can't stay out there 87 plays and not be tired unless you can rotate some people.
Or unless you're Anthony Hill, who played 83 plays.
Yeah.
It's just wild. Michael Taft did basically.
You got a few that are just freaks.
But yes, correct.
And they just do that. And then you look at Colin. Everybody was griping about Colin 3 weeks ago about not making plays. 4 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, and then SEC Player of the Week.
Back-to-back SEC Player of the Week.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. And what a great young man who has confidence. So the defense is growing with confidence. The special teams are growing with confidence. They're having a winning attitude right now. Offense is the one that's unsure. We're not sure who we are. We're not sure. We still don't have the identity. We thought we did, but we didn't. And even you look at it with Mason Shipley and Bo Meester, they're winning games.
Yeah.
And you look at, I would quit punting it to Ryan Niblett.
I know.
Come on, man. Punt it out of bounds. Don't punt it to him. Because I'm excited now. They used to say, yeah, let's go get something to eat. They're going to punt. Now you say, let's stay. Ryan's going to touch the ball.
And to your point on Jack Bomeister, if that happens against Florida and they recovered, those 3 punts that were inside the 20 that went into the end zone,
then you win the game.
That's a different game.
That's the margin of error that's so small.
This team has right now.
It really is. You've got they're playing some really good teams, and then they're playing some average teams that can beat you. In the end of the season here, they're going to have to play well, and they're going to have to do it each week. And then you can be a little critical of the defense. There were 4 balls on the ground. They didn't get them. When the ball is on the ground, you've got to get them.
That was wild.
It was wild. I'd sit there and watch our teams. They forced 4 turnovers and didn't get the ball.
Yeah.
And that's key. And then the other thing that I was disappointed in, and I always got frustrated with our defense when this happened, there's 51 seconds left, and Kentucky's got to go the length of the field to kick a field goal, and they do.
Yeah.
That's when you got to step up and have a turnover. Finish the game. Don't let it to get to overtime, especially on the road, because then you got a chance to get beat.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got the 3-point lead. You're kicking off to them. Do not let them get down there with 51 seconds. But I thought confidence is an amazing thing, and the special teams and defense have it right now, and the offense does not.
And I think there are a couple of things I want to hear from what we're going to hear from Steve Sarkisian here. The first thing is, and we'll get into the play calling in a minute, but the first one is Sark taking responsibility. And I think that's kind of something that, not that he hasn't done it, but I thought it was really important this week for him to say, I'll take the blame. Here's Sark on just kind of where his mindset is and some of the things he's disappointed in.
At the end of the day, offensively, I've got to do a better job. I've got to do a better job putting all of our players in position to be successful, and that's blocking people, that's throwing the ball to open people, that's running routes precisely where they need to be. So that's on nobody but me, and so that's when you can look in the mirror first and say, okay, I'm responsible to try to get this fixed and get better at it. I'm very comfortable with that.
I thought that was it was one of his key points in his opening statement was, hey, this is on me. I've got to figure this out. And I know that leads into the play calling in a minute, but first, what do you make of a coach who's willing to stand up there and say, listen, this is me. I'm the one that's responsible for this. I've got to make it better.
Well, it's true because he hired everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true because he's not coaching the receivers. He's not coaching the offensive line. He's not coaching the running backs. He is, but he's not.
Right.
And I think Steve's such a stand-up guy. He said what he had to say, and a lot of coaches will say, well, we got to get these receivers doing better. Well, that's obvious. So I think the biggest thing that you like about Steve is he said it. But Texas fans have to remember they won the game. That's the only objective going in, is to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And people used to tell me it's an ugly win. I said, there's not such a thing as an ugly win. By Tuesday, it's just a big fat W.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And if you lose the Kentucky game, they want everybody fired because you couldn't even win. You couldn't even beat Kentucky. It was a win. It was a win. Maybe you didn't get the joy you had going in. Maybe your identity wasn't as good leaving the field, but maybe the point spread pissed you off, but you won the game. And that's Steve's responsibility. That's what he's supposed to do, is win the game. And he did that. There's always things you can fix. As a head coach in a scrimmage, you're never happy because somebody's bad. The offense is going to be better than the defense or vice versa. I'm so excited for this team that they have the talent on offense. They've shown they can do it. The defense is playing great. The special teams are playing great. And now on days that the offense isn't playing as good as they would want to, they know how to win. That's what I would say came out of this game, because the culture's good. Everybody, by this time of the year, you know who you are. And sometimes you don't like it. But you look in that mirror and say, okay, we're an inconsistent running team. We're an inconsistent offense. We can do great, so let's keep building on it. So what I always tried to do, Bob, when it wasn't good, I'd get simpler and fresh to try to get them some confidence. And that would be it. Don't lose the game. And that's key. They're going to have trouble when they have to throw the ball, and everybody knows they're going to throw the ball. They're having trouble protecting. Is it the receiver not getting off the route fast enough? Is it the tight end being a little bit late, leaking out? Is it the back that didn't chip coming out? Is it Arch holding it too long before he runs? Yes.
Yes. Right.
And that's why football is a very simple game played by very complicated and coached by very complicated people. And I guess I could say, and fans that are watching are very, and media are very complicated people.
Sure.
But I've always said, football's simple, people are complicated. Well, the complication comes because I ran my route 2 yards too deep, a yard and a half. That's not noticeable.
Right.
But it's a killer.
And something Stark talked about yesterday too.
It's a killer.
Absolutely.
And you do it over and over and over again. But you're not dealing with video games. You're dealing with 19 years old. And these 19-year-olds, they stayed up too late. They were on their video games. They just lost their girlfriend. They flunked a test. And they're saying, it's a little deep. No, you ruined the play because you were a little deep. And you can't be a little deep. You got to get to the right place. And that's the frustrating thing when you go back and look at it. The good thing is you're sitting here with a chance to win the SEC, a chance to go to the playoffs after midseason with things you can fix. If everything's good and you're at this point and you're saying, now we just got to keep from being complacent. And the other thing is, and I said it when I sat there and watched after the game, all the celebrating. I never celebrated enough because I was always thinking about the next thing.
Next, yeah.
I'm seeing all that celebration on the field. And my first thought is, Kentucky, be careful, man. Kentucky's off. They're fresh. They're sitting and watching you celebrate, and they can't wait. They got 2 ex-Oklahoma guys, some Stoops on that staff. They couldn't wait to beat Texas. And you're still getting patted on the back on Monday, and the press conference is easy, and it's really interesting. We used to say when we'd win, we'd have the power in the press conference because whatever I say was funny and it was good. If you lose, you have no power, man. No. You just get beat down and beat to death. But I think that's the biggest thing is that now the defense has got to be careful, and special teams this week that everybody's patting them on the back, and the offense is getting cussed. So the offense will go to Mississippi State and play really good. The defense has to step back up and carry this team, and special teams has to carry this team, knowing that the offense is going to be inconsistent.
You know, one of the things Stark mentioned I thought was interesting was he said, to bring up what VY said earlier this year, you've got to convert third downs. It's a major fact. They were 10 of 17 against Oklahoma. That's part of the reason they won the game. Sark said after the game, he goes, one of the things I didn't realize in the post game, we were actually really good on third and long, which is what we struggled with. He said we were 1 of 7 on third of 1 to 6, 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 6. They were 1 of 7, and that's another killer. And again, the inconsistencies come every week in a different form for this offense, and I think that's probably the hardest thing for Sark right now.
Drives you nuts.
Every week, I think I've got this figured out. Now I can go to this and work on this. Well, we work on this, then the other one goes back to where it was.
They always said it was like holes in the boat.
Yep.
Got this one
That's
plugged
what it feels
up.
like.
There's one over here. Where'd that come from?
That's the best idea of what this Texas offense is right now.
Yeah.
It's just holes in a boat, and they're trying to plug them here, and then Cole Hudson goes down, and now you're trying to figure out what we can do with Connor Robertson, what works with him. But now we've got Nick Brooks. I mean, it's on and on and on trying to figure out what we can do.
But let's go back to the root of winning football. It's running the ball.
It's running the ball.
If you can't run the ball, you're not going to make third down and short.
Mm-hmm.
Then you don't have your play actions off third and short or goal line. There was only one goal line series. That was from the 5.
Got inside the 20 once.
Yeah.
That includes overtime, by the way.
But you
started on the 25. Didn't get inside the 20.
Good point. But penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Sark, the practice I went to, he harped on pre-snap and post-whistle penalties.
And only 2 penalties offensively this week. It was 1 in the fourth quarter, 1 in overtime, but that was a big step for them.
It was a big step on the road, especially with crowd noise.
Yeah.
But you got to run the ball.
Right.
And you got to find ways to run the ball. And part of running the ball may be a quick pass, maybe a screen, maybe a draw, maybe a counter. But you've got to figure out how to run the ball to keep the ball, take pressure off your quarterback, take pressure off a young offensive line, and still win the game.
Okay, so let's get into the play calling a little bit, because I know that's a frustration for some right now.
Everywhere in America.
I think I'm not on the side of, I just think we need to strip Sark. They need to strip Sark of his play calling. I think you give him a little grace. He's done this for a long time. This offense has been totally inconsistent this year, whether it's injuries to Quintravian Wisener or CJ Baxter or DeAndre Moore, now Cole Hudson. You lose Andre Kojo in the preseason. He has been trying to figure this thing out in different ways all year. And that's why I think it was really important that he said 3 weeks ago, we finally just said, okay, look, we don't have it yet. Let's win with defense and special teams. Let's be a little more. And they haven't turned it over in 2 weeks. They've done the right things on that front offensively. They're lowering the penalties. I think all those things are vital to winning for this team right now. So the question was asked on Monday, would you give up play calling? Is it something you've considered? Is it something you do? Here's what Steve Sarkisian said.
Because that's why I got hired. I was a really good offensive coordinator. So I believe in what we're able to do. Every year we have to continually evolve, and there's years we're going to be better on offense than we are on defense. There's going to be years we're better on defense than we are on offense, but it's like if I was the best outside sales guy and then I had a startup company, surely I'm going to go to the sales meetings if I'm trying to sell something, right? And so if that's one of your strengths, I'm always going to tap into the strength that I have. And I think, being a play caller on offense is one of my strengths. Some may disagree. That's okay.
I love that last. And he did give a little smile after that. He kind of said that and then smiled. I just said this. I'm on the side of let's give him a little grace and trying to figure out what's going on offensively. He's obviously not going to give up the play calling in the middle of the year anyway. So I don't even think it's much of a discussion on that front right now. I think in the offseason, when he sits down, he can self-evaluate and have the people he trusts around him, and they can have that conversation. I'm just not big on it right now. That's my personal opinion. What are your thoughts on Steve as a play caller this year? Obviously, he's been pretty good the last 4 years. What are your thoughts on him as a play caller this year?
When the players play good, he calls really good plays. And number one, this is his choice. It's not media's choice. Right. It's not fans' choice. It's not anybody's choice. It's his choice. And he loves it, and he's very good at it. Just got the play calls just took Texas to a game away from the national championship 2 years in a row. So he wasn't stupid at those times. And everybody wants to call plays. Nobody knows enough about defense. They just say, I should blitz more, or why aren't we getting sacks? But
what do I do on Madden here?
What do I do on Madden here? But everybody can call a play.
Right.
And if you call a run, it doesn't work, he should have thrown. I can't believe he didn't throw in that situation. We had that discussion today before
Absolutely.
we started the show. The second part is that he's right. I got hired because I was a play caller. That's what you do. You do what you do. And he has total confidence in that. And there's days that when you get in rhythm, it's like everything. It's like golf. It's like anybody in their business. When it's going well, you can throw darts at a play sheet and they all work. And if it's not going well, then you figure out how to keep from getting beat. And that's what they had to do Saturday. They haven't turned the ball over for 2 weeks. If you play great defense, you have great special teams, and you don't turn the ball over, you're going to win most college football games. Not going to be pretty. Not going to be something that everybody has fun with. Oh, that was a fun game. Well, it's fun game when you stop them.
Right.
It's fun game when you have punt returns. I was the play caller. I was the head coach and the play caller. I was standing at midfield before a game, and I loved George Welsh. He was old.
And just so we know, this is at North Carolina. Your first stint at North Carolina early on, right? Like third year?
My first stint. I'm probably in my
second or third year.
I'm probably in my mid-30s, maybe late 30s. And George is older, and he's tough and crusty, and he's always mad about something. He's mad because we had turf on the sideline. I said it was muddy. I was trying to get it where you didn't have to stand in the mud. You're trying to make our players trip, and they're going to fall. I said, we'll pull it up. We'll pull it up. And then he'd say, why don't you come to Nantucket and fish with me in the summer? I said, you just chewed me out for doing that. So he says, you call plays still, don't you? And I said, yes, sir, I do. And he said, boy, you'll quit doing that when you get a little bit older. And I said, why, Coach? I love calling plays. It's other than the relationships, I love calling plays more than anything else. It challenged me. It was fun. You got to beat the other guys like a chess match. And it's a wonderful thing for your mind. And as he sat there and said, well, you're going to get too old. You're going to get too tired. And you're going to get too busy as a head coach. I used to call him. And he said, nah, I quit. And he said, all I do is bitch at the guys call them because I know how to call them. So for Steve to change, number one, he has to feel like he's had enough and he's too busy with all the stuff with Texas football.
Recruiting and NIL and revenue sharing and everything else that goes into it. That's just on the side. That's not to mention the football itself.
No, and this is a big monster. It's a huge deal to do all this. The second thing he's got to do is find somebody else that's as good as he is. And that's really, really hard to do. And then the third thing he's got to do, when you bring a guy in, you've got to let him do it. And that was really hard. It's hard for me when you hear him call a play on 3rd and 5 and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, that's awful. I wouldn't call that play. Well, you can't stop him because you got 15 seconds left and it's already to the quarterback, and you've sat in the meetings and you have the plans, but you got to let the guy do it if he's going to do it. So just to change is easy to say, it's hard to do. And I remember Greg Davis was our offensive coordinator. He's really good at what he did, and people hated him.
You averaged 50 points a game in 2005, and everybody still hated Greg Davis.
Which is a point. Everybody going to hate the play caller. So if one day Sark does give it to somebody else, they're going to hate him too. I had a booster tell me one time named Al Thaggart. He was a doctor. He called and said, you should never fire Greg Davis. And I said, everybody wants him fired. Why are you saying? He said, as long as he's here, they're all going to be mad at him and not mad at you. So you fire him, then they're going to start getting mad at you. And that did happen, by the way, after Greg left.
After 2010.
After 2010. So, but I do think that play calling is the hardest part of college football during the game. It's hard because you never know who's going to show up. And on days that it's easy, anybody can call. On days that it's hard, man, you better keep from getting beat.
So on that note, do you think if Texas won in overtime at Kentucky 45-42 and the offense looked great, but the defense looked terrible, that everybody just feel better? Like we'd all everybody be in a better mood this week. It'd be, oh, it's fine. Whatever. The defense will figure it out. Don't worry about that. But because the offense is struggling, again, it's been consistent this year, but because that's the side of the ball struggling, everybody's having a harder time with this.
Bob, for 100 years, people have said you fill stands with offense, you win games with defense and special teams. That's exactly what happens. We had great offenses at North Carolina. We averaged a bunch of points. We couldn't stop people. And we had great defensive coaches. We just couldn't stop people. So we couldn't get done what we needed to get done because we weren't good enough on defense. You've got to great football, sometimes boring. Defense is boring to those who aren't really deep into every ounce of football.
1-0 baseball games are not the entertainment value that
Same
you go to
thing.
the park for.
People fall asleep at the 7th inning. They wake up to sing, go back to sleep, then they win the game.
I mean, when the Pistons were winning the NBA Finals in the 2004, 2005, then the Spurs started doing the same thing. And those games were like 79, 68. People were like, this is awful basketball. And that's how people think, right? It's about the offense.
It is. Here's what I always thought. If you're great on defense and you're great on special teams, every now and then you're going to be really good on offense. And it gives you a chance to win every week. When you're bad on offense and you're great on those two phases, you still can win the game.
Mm-hmm.
So to have a great year, the best teams usually are the ones that have the great defense and can run the ball on offense and have great special teams. We go to Ryan Day last year, and Ryan is a friend of mine. Michigan game, they all want him fired that day. It's very much like James Franklin.
It was over.
It's over.
It was over.
And then he wins the national championship. Yeah. And now they're all afraid he's going to go to the pros. And he's sitting here now, and they're the number one team in the country. And he's back to probably his is something because he's got his receiver coach calling plays, but he's sitting there with him. So it's got to be a great relationship, and you can't be sensitive when you do that. Chip Kelly, he played for Chip Kelly, and Chip was his offensive coordinator last year, and Ryan and Chip would fight. And because you just do, and you got pressure, and you got 15 seconds to make a call.
Right.
But looking at what Ryan Day's done now, he may win back-to-back national championships, and they wanted him fired. So what if Penn State had stayed and won the rest of the games and won the national championship? We've got to be really, really careful that we don't overreact each week now. He's got to be fired. Oh, we got to pay him a buyout. Oh, we got to keep him. Oh, man, we got to pay him $13 million. We can't do that.
Can I respond to that real quick?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right, Mac.
Yeah.
You think people aren't going to overreact?
No.
That's this whole game.
Well, it is, but you can overreact on Saturday night and Sunday, but get back to sense on Monday. And if you love your coach, then treat him right. And Steve's doing a great job.
That's why there's nothing better than college football. It really is. It's why the fans love it. It's why we love it, the media. It's why you love it as coaches. And I think coming up in this next segment in coaching, we should talk a little bit about why you guys are so crazy. Because you guys James Franklin has a $50 billion buyout, and you guys are like, I want to get back to coaching.
Well, and let
Y'all
me
are
say,
nuts. Y'all are all nuts.
Coaches get frustrated with fans sometimes, but if it wasn't for the fans, coaches wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
So I've got the large majority of my friends are boosters and fans in my life. That's it. And do I get frustrated with them? Because sometimes they're too close and they can ask you that question too. Yeah. I know they didn't ask you in the media, or you didn't answer it, but what's the real story? And I'd say, come on, man, give me a break. just let me sit over here by myself and don't do it in the middle of my golf swing.
Urban Meyer. Hey, don't do it in the middle of my golf swing. That's the best one. Urban Meyer eating pizza after the game. Just let me sit here for a minute, eat my piece of pizza.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate
John
that.
Bianco and Bill Little. Why don't you go sit in the corner just for a minute before you tell everybody how stupid they are? Okay. I got it.
Right.
I got it.
All right. Let's also take a breath. We're going to take a break. We're going to get back into the coaching carousel. We'll talk a little bit about the AP poll and some of the teams that have moved this week. By the way, Ohio State stayed number one. Every other team moved somewhere. So it was just that kind of week in college football. I know we're going to have a lot more of that. That's all coming up. This is The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strip. We're back after this.
Game days are a marathon. Tailgates in the morning, kickoff in the afternoon, and celebrations that can stretch late into the night. You need energy you can count on without the sugar crash or jitters.
These aren't your typical energy drinks. Rise Energy Strips give you clean, natural energy you can carry in your pocket. No cans, no spills, no hassle.
And no waiting around wondering when it's going to kick in.
Exactly. Each strip has 50 milligrams of caffeine from natural sources, plus vitamin B12, L-theanine, and electrolytes, all from natural ingredients. They dissolve under your tongue, so they work up to 5 times faster and are 10 times more efficient than pills or energy drinks. 0 sugar, 0 calories, and the convenience to keep them anywhere in your pocket, wallet, or gym bag, so you've always got clean, natural energy when you need it.
Yeah, I could have used these back in my playing days. It would have saved me from carrying around a can like it's part of my uniform. With these, pop a strip, fill it fast, and you ready to roll. That's a winning game plan.
And now you can try them yourself. Get 25% off your first order at riseup.com/stampede.
That's RIIZEUP.com/stampede. Rise Energy Strips. Smart, simple, and built for the long game.
Breakfast might be the most important choice you make all day. That's because with Wendy's 2 for $3 breakfast, you can mix and match your very own perfect pairing of our delicious morning favorites. With this breakfast deal, the choice is all yours, not someone else's. And isn't that how it should be? It's your breakfast after all, not Martha's. She can pick her own breakfast. This one's all for you.
No matter what you choose, from our sausage biscuit with that grilled breakfast sausage or the egg and cheese biscuit with fresh cracked grade A egg and melty American cheese on a fluffy buttermilk biscuit, a small size of perfectly seasoned potatoes, or a medium hot coffee to power you through the morning, all you got to do is pick your ideal morning pair.
You really can't lose because you're the one calling the shots. The choice is all yours.
Wake up to Wendy's 2 for $3 breakfast just the way you want it. Limited time only during breakfast hours. U.S. price and participation may vary. No substitutions, not valid in a combo, single item at regular price. Welcome back to The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. Good first segment talking Texas, Kentucky. That's now in the rearview mirror. We're going to look forward as we look forward to Mississippi State in our next segment. But this segment, we're going to get into some really fun stuff. And I thought this would be a lot of fun for you to talk about the coaching carousel that continues. Every week, a new coach is fired. So we'll get into the coaches, but I want to get into the poll first. We're 2 weeks away from the first college football playoff poll. The one poll that matters, obviously, more than that is the AP poll, right?
College football playoff poll that's coming up. But yeah, no, it does matter. But I would like for us to go back and check every AP poll voters preseason rankings
poll,
to see it really doesn't matter.
I had Ohio State 1, and they're still number 1. So, I mean, I'm good.
Yeah.
You're the other 24. Forget about it.
I was going to say, and I refused to do it. So,
yes.
Because I knew it was bad. I did it when I was in the media, and it was awful.
Yeah. It's never fun. I always said the coaches poll, I could never even imagine. You come back from a night game, you're on the plane ride back, you're just trying to see what's going on with your team, much less trying to get a coaches poll out by the morning and figuring all that out. But there are some interesting points to the poll right now and kind of where things sit. I don't know that the AP poll will differ that dramatically from what the college football playoff poll looks like when it comes out. So I want to get into a couple things. I think there's a lot of talk about where Notre Dame should be right now. They have 2 losses to Miami on the road and to Texas A&M at home. And both those teams are obviously very good teams. Notre Dame is a team that is going to be a double-digit favorite the rest of the way. They're going to go 10-2 short of an upset. So they're likely going to get into the college football playoff. But right now, I think they're 15th or 16th in the poll, wherever they are. Miami's ahead of, if you look at it, like I'll give you what I did. Virginia, Louisville, Miami, back to back to back. Virginia beat Louisville. Louisville beat Miami. Miami beat Notre Dame. They all have 1 loss. Notre Dame has 2. So I think there are interesting ways to go about the poll. Some do eyeball tests. Some do results. Some mix them together. What are your thoughts right now on Notre Dame and then kind of like the ACC as a whole? Because Georgia Tech is right there as the undefeated team that's in the top 10. It's an interesting race right now in the ACC. How do you see kind of those things shaking out?
Notre Dame's going to get in.
Right.
They Marcus Freeman gets them ready. They had the upset with Marshall a couple of years ago. They had the Northern Illinois upset. But Marcus will get them ready to play, and they should win out. So they're going to get in. They'll be in the top 12. They've got the best deal going with college football, and they'll take advantage of that. So there's no question. The crazy things that are happening right now, an Indiana 7-0, Georgia Tech 7-0. What does that mean? Who did they played? I'm really big into strength of schedule. That's why Notre Dame lost to 2 teams that people thought were really good teams. What about Alabama? What about Florida State? What happened? We all walked out and said Alabama's awful and Florida State's got a chance to win the national championship. We all walked out and said Penn State should have beaten Oregon, so they're still going to be in the playoffs. And they got a chance to win the national championship. We fired the coach after 3 weeks. So when you start looking at Ohio State's open, they're really good. Their question mark was some young defensive linemen. They're playing great on defense, and that young quarterback's killed it, and he's got 2 of the best receivers that have ever played. Those guys are freakish. Really interesting Indiana, UCLA with the interim coach. People say, well, it's coaching. A new coach changed. Well, sometimes just the attitude of the team. Pressure's off. Let's go play. Let's have fun. Mortensen at UAB beating Memphis. That can't happen. And Sally even used to say, about the time you think it can happen, it's when it's going to in sports. So you better never, complacency kills. You better never think this is going to be easy.
And to that point, I think a lot of times when teams fire their coach in the mid-season, you see a response from them normally. And it's almost like the weight is gone. It's not because they don't like their coach. It's not because they didn't enjoy playing for him. But a lot of times you hear the outside noise, that weight goes away, and you feel like I can just go play football now.
And then you start winning a little bit, like Boise did a few years ago. And then you say, hey, maybe they'll keep this coach.
Right.
So that happens. I love Rick Neuheisel. He's one of my best friends. Jerry's just having a blast calling plays. But that'll be interesting with them in Indiana this weekend. A&M at LSU. It's been a really hard place for A&M to win. Hard for anybody to win down there. LSU's mad. A&M didn't play very good defense at Arkansas. That was a lot closer than people thought. So people are mad at the Texas offense. People are mad at the A&M defense. You're always mad at the phase that doesn't do well, even if you win, because you're worried about that phase. So that'll be a key game this weekend for A&M. Alabama at South Carolina. South Carolina's struggling on offense, but Alabama struggled some at South Carolina. Oregon,
that was an impressive win for Oklahoma, by the way, at South Carolina, coming off the Texas game. Mateer kind of getting back into himself, but they ran the ball well. I did not expect Oklahoma to play and win the game that well on the road at South Carolina. That was an impressive win.
I didn't either, for sure. I was really surprised. Georgia's open. Oregon's going to beat Wisconsin. Georgia Tech's going to beat Syracuse. Syracuse lost their quarterback. Fran Brown had it really growing and had the quarterback come in from Notre Dame. He tore his leg up, and he's out for the year. So they really
real quick on Georgia Tech. Blake Gideon, defensive coordinator. How proud of you
I am
of him
so proud of him.
What he's done there.
Yeah, I've texted him, and people say, well, he had never done it before. Well, he has now. He's 7-0. So good for Blake. And Brent Key's a good football coach. So I enjoy watching him. Then you got Ole Miss at Oklahoma.
What a game that'll be.
Yeah, they stunk against Washington State 2 weeks ago. That's one that nobody would say was going to happen, and it did. And then they fight their guts out and lose a tough one to Georgia. Oklahoma's pumped up and ready to go, and Ole Miss is a little down and beaten up. So
overlooking Washington State for Georgia for sure. That 11 a.m. game
for
and
Georgia.
Nobody showed up in Oxford, and Lane called it out. He said, "There's no energy here."
He did, and we've always said Texas had trouble at Florida before OU. They played great at OU. They had trouble at Kentucky afterwards. The game before the Oklahoma game, the game after, is a very difficult game to coach at this place. Miami didn't play well at Louisville. They've got Stanford. Stanford's gotten a little better. They've got a backup quarterback, but they're not going to beat Miami, but it should be a good game. The black and gold, Vanderbilt and Ole Miss. Missouri, you won't even sleep this week.
Vanderbilt hadn't beaten LSU since before you played at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, which was a long time ago. I was not at the 47 game. I was a child, but I was not. No, I wasn't even a child.
But it's probably one of the, I think Ole Miss, Oklahoma, you can certainly include in that bunch, but Vanderbilt, Missouri is one of the games of the week this week. College game days going there. It's wild to think what's going on in Nashville. It's so cool to see. Diego Pavia has been unbelievable for that team. Clark Lee's obviously a very good coach, but to see what's happening at Vanderbilt is so cool. We don't get this story a lot. And we got it with Indiana a little bit last year, a little bit now, but Vanderbilt is almost a different beast in a lot of ways. And you know that, better than anybody.
They really are. You sit and look at Clark Lee did a really smart thing. He brought in Jerry Kill, and Jerry Kill was a great coach. And Jerry's had some health issues, so he backed off a little bit, but Jerry brought Diego Pavia with him. That guy competes. Now, if I'm in an alley, I want him with me. He may get us in trouble. He may get us in a fight, but he's going to win the fight after he starts a fight because I love the way the guy competes. And Jerry Kill is just, he's a settling factor, an older coach that really has helped Clark. And Clark's done a great job. We played Clark when he was defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. And I'm telling you now, they shut us out the second half, and we had a really good offense. And we were in Chapel Hill, and the game was even, I think it's 17-17 halftime. We didn't score. And I thought he made unbelievable adjustments to get us where we were off balance in the second half. So he is a very good football coach and smart enough to bring in some old experienced guys that help him. And when you got a quarterback, you got a chance.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to see Cedric Alexander from right here in Austin at LBJ High School is doing some good things at running back as well. It's been really impressive. It's really impressive to see what they did at home against LSU this week. Can they do it again against Missouri, who just went on the road for the first time this year, mid-October, hard to believe, and beat Auburn in overtime. So that'll be a really fun one this weekend.
Well, and for the people in Group of 5, what if Memphis beats USF?
Right.
After Memphis loses to UAB. I mean, that thing could get so crazy to see who's the team that gets in from the Group of 5. So
and that brings in some of the teams out west. You start bringing in the UNLVs and Boise's, and you start thinking about those teams as well. Now, who's gonna? There's a lot of football to play. We still got a month and a half till we get there, but that jockeying for position is going to become really interesting if that happens in the AAC. And Navy's undefeated, by the way. They're going to lose to Notre Dame most likely, but they're 6-0 and they're undefeated, and they could go win the AAC too.
Navy went for a 4th and 1 against Temple 2 weeks ago, and they were going to lose the game if they didn't make it. Navy throws a touchdown pass, goes for 2, and wins the game when they had no chance to win. You've got to do that. You got to win some close ones that you don't play as well, especially on the road, before you have a chance to get in the mix at the end.
Did you say Navy threw a touchdown pass? That's not something you hear very often.
Well, Temple had 14 on the line of scrimmage, so they knew on 4th and 1 Navy was not going to throw it, but that's when the military academies get you, because about the time you think they can't, they do.
Yeah.
And
Sally.
that's it.
Thank you, Sally.
That is it. That is it without question.
Okay, so let's transition from that, because I think those are some interesting points to make to get us into where we're going. Mike Elko this week asked about the job at Penn State. Did not categorically deny it, because as a head coach, you never do, right? You never say absolutely not no, because then you're a liar if you go. But Mike Elko says that at Texas A&M. Eli Drinkwitz is asked about. All these coaches around the country are asked about it. Obviously, you're going to say the right things in the moment, because you don't want your team to go, oh, is Matt Rule looking at Penn State while we're trying to get to the Big Ten title game or whatever? Those things are tough. But what as a coach can you do to quell your team more than anything? For the media, the outside noise, your fans want to know, I get that. But it's almost more important for your team to hear it from you that you're going to stay.
Yeah, Bob, it's a very difficult thing. And now that they're firing coaches into 4 games into the season, 5 or 6, it gets even tougher, because you got to coach the rest of the year while your agent's negotiating another job, while you're talking to the media. And when you say, I don't want to talk about it, that just means you're interested. Mm-hmm. If you say, I'm not going to leave ever, they're saying, well, he's not telling the truth. So you can't win the conversation, whatever you say. I remember I said, no, I'm not leaving North Carolina. Well, Texas came 3 days later and offered me the job, and then I left. And everybody said he lied. No, situation changed. And all these coaches have to take care of themselves, because if they stay, they're going to get fired if they don't win. And I didn't do a great job of that. And that's something coaches have to do. People say you're disloyal. Well, you're only disloyal to yourself and your family if you don't take a better opportunity. And if it's a better opportunity for you to stay, you should stay. And the other thing is that what you tell your team is, look, this is NIL, man. So if I have a better opportunity, I will look at it, but I'm not going to be distracted. I want you to have a great season. We're going to stay here. I'm not planning on leaving, but like you, at the end of the year, I'm going to look at options. So let's don't bring it up. Let's forget it. We need to win. All of us are better off if we win all the games. So let's just forget it. And then with the media, say the same thing. Say, I'm not looking at anything till after the season. I'm happy here. I'm not planning on leaving. But if the opportunity comes up and something's better, obviously I'll look at it. And then all the fans get mad. But what are you going to say?
Yeah, that's where you get the point of this, right? Like, what are you going to say? There's no good way around it. There's no easy way out. Unless Mike Elko at Texas A&M says, I am not leaving Texas A&M no matter who brings me an offer, and then he sticks to it. That's the only way that this is ever going to be solved. And that's you're putting yourself in a corner if you do that.
Yeah. And if he loses 3 games, and then the big boys, the big boosters, get mad at him, then he says, well, I need to leave because the opportunity is better for me to leave now than that. DeLoss used to say, DeLoss Dotz, my boss for most of the years I was there, the boss used to say, when you're winning, you're the boss. as a football coach. When you're losing, the big boosters are the boss because they're the ones that are going to tell me what to do.
Right.
And that's what happens with all this money. That's why we're seeing changes. And the craziness is we pay, you get the hot guy. Well, he wins 2 games, he wins 3 games. Let's give him $60 million and get him to stay. Then next year he's 2-4 and you want to fire him and you can't.
Right.
So we're overreacting on both sides here, and we're having to get so much money for NIL, so much money for buyouts that it's not sustainable. Something's got to change. So I thought about even what we talked about last week, Bob, with coaches. I think now what's going to happen is put it in your buyout that you have to win a certain number of games. So if you can't win 8 or more games, then your buyout, it's like you're getting fired for cause,
right?
Because you didn't win. And they're going to have to start doing things like that because all these coaches are human. And when you get hot, we've all been hot at some time, and we've all been not at some time.
Sure.
And when you get hot, people are paying you too much and giving you these long-term contracts. Coaching is not a long-term business. It is. What did you do for me lately, baby? I mean, without question. And that's why this is, it's all about human beings. It's all about firing coaches. And the other thing now is that with revenue sharing, there's more parity. Everybody can buy a quarterback. Everybody can buy a tailback.
Right.
And you're going to lose more games because they're playing 9 conference games. So you're not playing the little teams anymore. So people are going to have to get used to their team losing 4 games. And if they keep firing the coaches like the NFL, then they're going to rotate the coaches because they're going to run out of coaches.
Right. And I think that's another interesting point. So let's look at Florida. Florida says Lane Kiffin that's their dream. They want to go get Lane Kiffin. Well, if Lane has a better promise at Ole Miss of not just his contract, but his ability to go get players, I think that's going to factor into this as well. You hear all these candidates that are at some of these jobs like Florida, and is it Lane Kiffin? Is it Eli Drinkwitz? Is it, there are a million people you could name. But is their situation, even if the school isn't the history or the traditional powerhouse, if that situation's better, why wouldn't the coach stay? There's no reason to go somewhere else if you know your situation's going to be better where you are, and the boosters are going to give you the money to, or you're going to go through NIL and get the right things done so you can get the players at your school.
It's a great point. Bobby Knight told me one time, don't ever leave a job for money. You leave a job if you can win more and you're going to be happier at the other place than where you are.
No.
Because the money's going to run out if you lose and get fired.
Lose 4 games and then all of a sudden it goes the other direction.
It does. So, and it's be careful what you wish for. I dreamed to get the Florida job. I dreamed to get the next job. And then the next job's not, it sounds better, but it's not good when you get there.
Right.
So it's a great point. And I just hate for Lane Kiffin that he has to answer Florida questions today. That's not fair to him right after losing to Georgia. I hate for Matt Rule, who grew up Penn State.
Right, I mean, that's
his whole life's Penn State.
Everything is Penn
His
State.
friend's the AD. He was a linebacker for Joe Paterno. He's a fan. I hate he has to answer that every time he sees somebody instead of being the coach at Nebraska.
Right.
And he gets beat by Minnesota this week, and then everybody says, well, he's not focused.
Because he's not right.
That's not fair. That's just not fair as you look at it. So I think the only thing you can do, and it's what I did at North Carolina when I left, is be honest with your team. What I did at Tulane when I left, what I did at App State when I left. Bring them in, sit down and tell them, this is a lot better opportunity for me. I hate it, but you came to the school, not just for me, and this school's going to take care of you. So stay here, be happy. But I've got to do this for my family. And then you move on. And it is really, really hard to leave your friends that are boosters more than anybody can even imagine, who have taken care of you and helped you. They don't understand it's best for you. For me, North Carolina was not as good a place as Texas when I left. Contract wasn't as good. I had 7 years there, 2 years at North Carolina, or 7 years here. The pay was about 4 times as much. People still said, he's just leaving because he wants money. I said, no, money's not a bad thing, but a better chance to win, a more committed place. Football's more important. All those boxes were checked. So you have to step up and do it. But I hate that coaches are having to answer those questions halfway through the season when they didn't ask for that.
Right. And it is the reality. It's the reality of the position. It's the reality of college football. It is what it is. I want to ask you this. we talked about James Franklin. He obviously made the appearance and talked about how he wants to get back into coaching. So James Franklin has a $49 million buyout. And I think the majority of people around the world would say, if you're going to give me $49 million to do nothing, I would go travel the world. I would spend time with my family. What is it about, not just James, this is a coaching thing in general. What is it about coaches that when they have an opportunity, it's almost like you just won the lottery in some ways, and you don't have to do your job anymore. But what is it about wanting to go work these 20-hour days and the winning games, and even coaches talk about I hate losing more than I like winning. None of this sounds fun. You guys make it sound it's awful in so many ways. Why do you want to keep doing it? What is it about like a guy like James Franklin that doesn't say, you know what, I'm going to go spend time with my family and travel and enjoy my life?
Go get me a boat. I'm going to learn to play golf.
Why is this so difficult?
Yeah. You do what you do.
I mean, I know the passion.
Coaches are emotionally disturbed.
Yeah.
I've always said that when people get mad at a coach for what he says after a game that's not very good or after a loss, what do you say? You're mad. You're mad at yourself, and you're not talking to the media. You're talking to recruits. You're talking to players' moms and dads. You're talking to high school coaches. You're talking to boosters. You're talking to everybody. So you're trying to figure out, without coach speak, how can I explain this when you're so mad at your team
10
and yourself?
minutes after the loss.
And
we're
right
not like
after it, I used to walk in with John Bianco and Bill Little, and they'd say, "How you doing?" I said, "Not worth a damn." And they'd say, "Why don't you sit down, drink a cup of water,
take a breather,
and let's take a breather before you go in and tell everybody how stupid they are." And then sometimes after you get through, Mr. Jamel told me, don't ever let your jaw get tight. Don't ever sweat. They'll know they've got you. And you don't want to sweat or get your jaw tight, but sometimes you just say, "Really?" And then John Bianco would say, "Oh, take a deep breath. We're good. Next question. We don't want to talk about that." But I was playing golf with Phil Mickelson one time, and he said, "I don't know that I'll play on the senior tour." And I said, "You're a golfer. That's what you do. You're really bright. You do a lot of great things, but you're a golfer. Coach is coach." I called Dick Vermeil when I left Texas. And I said, "Coach, what should I think and what should I see? I'm out of coaching." And it was the first time in my life I didn't have anything to do. When we left after the Alamo Bowl with Oregon, I had a schedule for a year with nothing on it. Not a luncheon, and a guy who'd been scheduled from early morning till late at night every day of his life. So Coach Vermeil said, "Don't ever say you're not going to coach again," because I waited 17 years. The right opportunity came up, and I went back and won a Super Bowl. So at that time, people would say, "Do you want to coach again?" And I'd say, "I think coaches always want to coach." Now, it has to be a place where you want to live. You have to think about Sally now, because she's had a bunch of tough Saturdays, good Saturdays, and fun Saturdays. But for the coaches' families, it's brutal during a game to sit there and bite your fingernails and be so nervous because you know the consequences of losing. It's awful. You don't sleep at night. I used to, after every game, I would go home, Bob, and I'd sit and I'd watch the game video 4 times. I wouldn't go to bed till 5 a.m. because I couldn't sleep.
Right.
And it looks a little bit different. So even with the Texas game, I go over it 4 times before I come in here, because you can't just look at it and see what the right guard does and know. You want to see how Brooks played at left guard.
Right.
But you got to watch him. And then you want to see, what was that Archie's fault, or was the receiver got locked on him, man. He didn't get off, so he held it a little bit longer. He got to run, got to go. But you've got to look at all those things, and that's what is in your blood about coaching. I can't wait until Saturdays. And Sally knows I don't get off the couch. She makes me get up and stretch a few times. But from 11 o'clock in the morning till the latest,
till Pac-12 after dark,
it is, until 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to sit there and watch games, and I make notes. That's how crazy it is. So, I talked to the men's and women's swim team at Texas this week, and it was so fun to see those young people, see how bright they are, and what wonderful futures they have, and the influence that a few things you can say might have in their lives. That's coaching.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, and that's what the coaches miss when they're not out there.
There are currently, and this could change obviously in the next hour, there are currently 8 Power 4 jobs open. We at the Stampede are always, I'm going to play media member here for a minute. Have you been contacted about a job that is open right now? And would you get back into coaching? I know you mentioned a little bit there, but would you consider it?
Yeah, Bob, I've had some contacts, but it's not jobs I would take. And I would get back in, but I've always wanted to say, am I best for that job? I had some NFL opportunities and I wasn't an NFL coach. And I knew that. So I told the NFL people, I'm not your best hire. I've had some other people call me and I said, I wouldn't do best at your job. I'm not a great fit there. So I've always been very, very careful. So I don't know what would be out there where I would want to live. Sally would want to live because we love Austin and you could win. And then the other thing Bill Snyder told me when I got back in at 67, 8 years old, he said, the hardest thing about getting in when you're older is getting out. Because every day people are talking about he's too old. And then all your staff, you're responsible for 100 staff members. And that's a load too. When James Franklin got fired, 100 staff members got fired with him. And they don't have money and they don't have a buyout. So it's really a tough thing to bring in people unless you have a succession plan that somebody's going to take your job. And that's harder too. We tried that once here and it didn't work so well.
Well, we are happy you're our coach on this show and you're not going anywhere anytime soon. We're not going to let you go.
Right now, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm focused on our show. I'm moving forward. I'm looking at this week only. I'm staying where my feet are.
I love it.
And I really am not. It's just ridiculous for you to bring something up when you're looking at outside jobs.
That John Bianco in the corner?
Yes.
Is he feeding you this?
Yeah, John held up a sign.
Coach, good stuff. I think it's really important to understand that perspective from a coach. I think hearing some of those things and understanding your mind and how that works is really really cool. So thanks for sharing that. We have got a lot more to come here on the Stampede. When we come back, we'll talk a little Mississippi State. Max must-dos as the Horns travel to Starkville to get ready for the Cowbells at 3:15 on Saturday. That's coming up. This is another edition of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips.
Football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action.
Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash.
This week on Underdog, I'm looking at two different games. I'm going to start with the Texas A&M LSU showdown in Baton Rouge. That LSU defense is going to play really well this weekend. So we're going to go Marcel Reed lower than 220.5 yards passing, even though he's been playing some great football. How about Alabama at South Carolina? Ty Simpson's been playing great football all season. He's going to go higher than 260.5 yards against the Gamecocks. Download the app today. Sign up with promo code STAMPEDE to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code STAMPEDE. Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. From Longhorns to startups, Branded Bills has you covered. Whether you're repping Burnt Orange Pride or building a brand of your own, nothing tells your story like a custom hat. Branded Bills is a proud sponsor of Texas Athletics with licensed Longhorn headwear that holds up from the tailgate to the stadium and through the celebration.
But Branded Bills doesn't stop there. They specialize in custom headwear that helps teams, companies, and communities showcase who they are with premium fit, finish, and style.
So whether you're a lifelong Longhorn, a business founder, or just someone who just wants to stand out, check out Branded Bills.
Explore their officially licensed UT collection or design your own custom hats built just for you. Branded Bills, from Longhorns to startups, licensed pride, custom style. Support for the Stampede comes from Google. Every August, we talk about new rule changes coming to college football. But now that we're in the middle of the season, it's hard to follow the real impact those rules are having on the games. For instance, this season was big on the crackdown of fake injuries. But with AI mode in Google search, you can now just type in, how have this year's college football rule changes impacted the season so far? And AI mode will pull together the key details and give you a summarized AI-powered response. It's perfect for those big, nuanced questions that don't have one simple answer.
It doesn't end there. Let's say you want to keep going deeper. With AI mode, you don't have to start a whole new search. You can ask direct follow-ups to learn more about specifics and explore related ideas. So whether you're wondering about a complex scheme, a new rule, or how the transfer portal works, with AI mode, you can just ask Google.
Final segment of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. Make sure you rate and review us and yell at us like the fans are yelling at this team right now at the Stampede UT anywhere on social media.
We can take the heat.
We can take it.
We can take the heat. We won't talk bad about you till we get off camera.
That's at the Stampede UT on social media. Of course, you can always catch this podcast anywhere you get your podcast, whether that's YouTube and you want to watch us, or you just want to listen to us on Spotify or Apple or anywhere else you get your podcast. All right, it's time for our Underdogs of the Week, presented by Underdog Fantasy. Last week was not ideal, which I know that hasn't been the case a lot this year. Not ideal for Coach Brown, but really not your fault. I'm going to give you a little breather, or a little break on this one. He had Notre Dame quarterback C.J. Carr for the second straight week to go higher on passing yards. That was not your fault. How were you supposed to know the weather was going to look like that?
Well, that's true, but I remember when you would make an excuse after a loss, nobody wanted to hear it. So I do remember this on Saturday. I turned the game on and it was pouring, and I wanted to call the producers and Bob and say, can we change? I don't want to have a passing stat that's way high.
Give me Jeremiah Love,
give
please.
Give me Jeremiah. No, he only ran for 600 yards. So that was it. But you got to do with whatever shows up, you got to handle it.
That's the way it is.
What it is.
Notre Dame quarterback C.J. Carr did not hit his higher number of 277.5 yards passing. Mack falls to 3-7 on the season. I had Tennessee receiver Chris Brazzell has been awesome this year to go higher than 63.5 yards. He did. So I moved to 8-2 on the year. Vince, I don't think we're going to count this pick because I'm the one that made it. So I think if you don't get it right and I make it, it doesn't count. But if you get it right, is that fair?
No, because you told me that C.J. Carr is a great pick, and you're going to get it. So you endorsed it. So does that mean I don't have to count it?
All right, fair enough.
I think I'm 3-0.
Ty Simpson higher than 11.5 rushing yards did not happen. So Vince falls to 7-2, 0-1 on the times that I pick his underdog pick. But I'm going to pick for him again this week.
Since you're doing
doing so well, we're on a roll here with underdogs. So let's go to the Tennessee-Mississippi State game for Vince. Arch Manning's number is 214.5 yards passing. And I think a lot of times when everybody thinks the trend is down, you got to go the opposite direction. I think Vince trusts Arch Manning. I think Arch has a better week this week. I think last week was another one of those, like, I've been hit in the face, I got to respond. Higher than 214.5 yards passing for Arch Manning.
I agree with that.
Okay. I like it.
I think that's good. And for me, I've got Texas A&M at LSU. Marcel Reed is killing it. He's playing great.
That's awesome.
But it's been a tough place for A&M to play. I coached at LSU, so it's one of the hardest places in the country, especially at night. And I do not think that Marcel will throw for more than 220.5 yards, because I did lose by a yard and a half at one point.
You did.
And Blake Baker, who was a graduate assistant for us, is the defensive coordinator, and he's doing a great job at LSU. I think it's going to be tough for Marcel to throw for more than 220.5.
Mack Brown goes lower than 220.5 yards for Marcel Reed, the Texas A&M quarterback, as they head to LSU, which will just be an awesome game this weekend. I'm going to stick in the SEC. The Alabama-South Carolina game, obviously South Carolina's not playing great. Ty Simpson has just been awesome. And I think the only game he's gone lower on his number was at Missouri when he only threw for 200 yards in that 27-24 win. Alabama at South Carolina this week. I'm going to go Ty Simpson higher than 260.5 yards passing. We'll see if Alabama can get it done on the road against a struggling South Carolina team. So I'm going to go Ty Simpson higher. As always, you can go to Underdog and make picks, win money. That's the whole point.
Ty Simpson's dad has been a very successful head football coach at UT Martin. We recruited Ty, and he is a great young man. His dad's a tremendous coach, and it's fun to see he and Alabama stepping up.
Something about those coaches' kids, isn't there?
They really are.
There's
They've
something
spent a
about
lot
them.
of time in that film room.
They know how to do it.
We talk about Chad Morris, his son Chandler,
Mhm.
Lake Travis.
Yep.
Chad's a great friend of mine. He's a tremendous coach. To see his son do so well at Virginia is really fun.
It's been pretty special.
I'm really happy for him.
For sure. They're having a great season. What a fun, as we talked about, Virginia, Louisville, Miami, all in that mix right there in the ACC. All right, let's get to what's coming up for Texas this week at Mississippi State. The cowbells will be ringing. And every time we talk about Texas, Mississippi State, I think the best memory that all Texas fans will have is the 1998 Cotton Bowl when Ricky ran and then posed for the Heisman in the end zone. I don't know if you love that. I can't remember. I know it was his last game. Were you okay with that one as a coach? I know you probably don't love celebrations, but give that Heisman pose, Ricky. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think they threw the flag, and I think it was worth it. And
Okay.
and it was our first year here, and we were coming in, and it was 4-7, and every Texas fan hated Jackie Sherrill, and he was a friend of mine. But when my brother Watson worked for him at Mississippi State, he had castrated the Longhorn out on the practice field before one of the practices. So that didn't make him any more popular. And his daughter worked for us in the athletic department, and I gave him tickets once after he got out of coaching. And of course, he couldn't help himself. He got up in the stands and made everybody mad. And then I got emails. What are you giving Jackie Sherrill? His daughter works for us. That's it.
Did he wear maroon?
Probably,
I can only imagine.
Probably he did, because Coach would stir it up for sure. But that was a great game because, and it was really interesting. Unlike today, that Ricky's going to be a first-round draft choice. He wants to play in the bowl game. And everybody thought he wouldn't play. He gets over 200 yards rushing. He didn't want to come out of the game. And that's how special a player he was.
Yeah.
And then Grant Taft was running the college football all-star game in Hawaii in a couple of weeks, and he called and said, look, I know Ricky's not going to play, but can he come out and be honorary captain? So I talked to Ricky. He said, why wouldn't I play? And I said, well, you're
Different
a number
mentality.
one draft pick. And he said, Coach, I like playing. I can get hurt on a bike. I can get hurt walking down the street, man. I'm going to play. And he went. He gained over 200 yards in the All-Star game, and they couldn't take him out. He wanted to stay in. But that's what made Ricky Williams so special. And those cowbells were not very loud on that day in the Cotton Bowl.
They will be on Saturday at 3:15 as Texas takes on Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby, a guy that you know well. What are your expectations? This Mississippi State team has definitely taken a step this year. 0-3 in SEC play with a big loss at A&M. That game was 7-3 at the half, though. Mississippi State took Tennessee to overtime at home, lost that one 34-31, just on the road at Florida. Had a chance late. Blake Shapen throws a pick, but they're driving to take a win, and that one they lose by 2 there. This is a good Mississippi. It's not the team we saw last year. Jeff Lebby's taken a step with this team this year.
He really has. I recruited Jeff from West Texas. His dad was a high school coach. He goes to Oklahoma. Therefore, he doesn't like Texas. Then he coaches for Art Browse. He marries Art's daughter, and he's the offensive coordinator for Art at Baylor. So therefore, he doesn't like Texas.
Sure.
So then, and he and Kendall Browse are obviously relatives now. So they run the same offense. It's the Art Browse offense. They're going to run the ball a lot better than you think they are. They're going to have the wide splits. They're going to throw deep. So it's a running game that can beat you with a vertical pass if you need to. Jeff has done an unbelievable job from where they were with no chance, and everybody talking about them not having any chance to compete in the SEC, to where they beat Arizona State, and a good Arizona State team that just beat Texas Tech. They had Tennessee in a point where they had a chance to beat them, just like the Kentucky-Texas game this weekend. But I like this situation better, even though the two Stoops brothers hate Texas, and it was going to be a good game. And now the Lebbys hate Texas, and it's going to be an interesting, important game for them. I like the fact it's in the afternoon. I didn't like going on the road at night. I like the fact that the Texas offense they're not getting patted on the back this week. So they're going to go, and Sark's going to be focused, and there'll be no complacency in that offensive staff room this week.
Right.
And everybody's picking it up and making sure they have their best performance. The defense has got to make sure that they don't get complacent and pat themselves on the back, because Mississippi State's going to run the ball. If they can run the ball when you're on the road and you can't run the ball, then they keep the ball. And that happened last week against Kentucky. And then on the road, you've got to win with your kicking game as well. And I'm so pumped about the Texas kicking game. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
And now kickoff return needs to come too, but it's harder because everybody kicks them out now.
Okay, so let's get your absolute must-dos as I write down, pack your defense and pack your run game, because every time you go on the road, you have to do that.
It's a same.
I know that's the first thing.
And your special teams.
Yeah.
You take those three on the road. And I said, if you give Kentucky a chance last week to see they have some hope, then it makes it tough. So getting a fast start, which Texas has not done.
Not done at all this year.
I used to say, let's try to create plays early. But if you're not moving the ball, you can't do that. Spike Dykes told me one time, I said, what's it like playing Texas when you're at Texas Tech? And he said, we usually didn't think we could beat you. But if you give us a chance and let us hang in there, oh my gosh, it got important.
Mm-hmm.
And pressure went to you instead of us. It happened the other night. The fourth quarter, all the pressure was on Texas because Kentucky just saying, we got a chance to win. And that was it. You brought up Kansas last week. That's true. We got a chance to win. We got a chance to beat Texas. And they don't think they have any chance. So you've got to give Mississippi State no hope early, because they'll draw some hope from Kentucky. We're as good as Kentucky.
Right. We're better than Kentucky.
We're better than Kentucky. And we nearly beat Tennessee here. We did beat Arizona State here. We can beat this team. So don't give them that chance early. So those are the things that you can't walk out there and let it just be a game. It's got to be the most important game of the year. You can't lose this game. Just like last week. They couldn't have lost last week. You lose last week, you lose who you are. So this is a playoff game. It is win and survive. Coach Stallings taught me so much when he was at Alabama and we played him in the Cotton Bowl. And he said one time, somebody said, well, that's not an important game. It's not a big game. And he said, they're only big if you lose them. And then they said, that's a big game because it got you fired.
Yep.
So this is a big game. And all Texas fans need to be pumped and excited and try to help this team figure out a way to win. Doesn't have to be pretty.
No.
Last year, Ohio State wasn't pretty. They weren't pretty. And the loss helped them win the national championship. If they hadn't lost to Michigan, maybe they don't win the national championship. Oregon, they get beat by Indiana. They kill Rutgers. Oh my gosh, poor Dan Lanning. He's like me in the championship game with Colorado. He's trying to figure out how not to score.
Full back up the middle, full back up the middle, full back up the middle punt.
Slow down. Take your time.
The problem is sometimes fullback up the middle goes for 11 or 12, and then you're like, what am I going to do now?
It does. Georgia beat us one time like that, and Coach Dooley and the big guys were so much better than we were. We were at Tulane, and I said, he's trying to be nice. The worst thing he can do is run straight ahead. He's not killing any time, and he's killing us. So
Mississippi State has a few former Texas players on its team as well. Brennan Thompson, who was at SEC Media Days, a leader on that team. Jeray Bledsoe. They got some guys that are going to be really excited about playing Texas as well. Ethan Burke said this week. I kind of asked him about, they're still on the road, haven't been home. They get on a plane every week and they go and they come back, and they get on a plane every week and they go and they come back. This week was the one that you've always talked about. You get home at like 4 a.m, got to get right back up, go back to sleep on Sunday. Don't get a lot of rest. It's interesting. This is the last of the push for Texas in this 6 weeks where they're not at home, 42 straight days without a game at DKR. But one of the things Ethan said that I thought was interesting was it's almost good for us. We almost like going together on the road and how we come together and the way we've gone about this. This team's been pretty good at it. Obviously, it didn't go well at Florida, but over the years, this team's been really good at going on the road. Let's see if they can do it this week and get another culture win, which it would certainly be to go on the road and do this one.
The best time in a coach or player's season is a win on the road, the excitement in that locker room, and the plane ride home. When you've got that smile on your face, that feeling of accomplishment, and you got a lot of things to fix, but you can say, you know what, I'm going to take a moment here, and I'm going to enjoy this. There's Coach Roll told me, I asked Coach Roll, why'd you quit coaching? And this is where Steve has to be careful. And I got to this point. He said, I quit coaching when the losses were devastating and the wins were a relief. And I got that way. You're supposed to win. Yep. And you're supposed to win all the time. So when you won, you say, thank God we won. Now we got to go do this next week. But this has got to get better. That's got to get better. And I kind of did that after the Oklahoma game. I'm sitting there thinking Kentucky. I mean, as they're on the field, I didn't even get them in the locker room yet. But you've got to take that moment on the road in that locker room where you're all together, and it's a special moment in coaching, and that's something that you really miss.
And that's what Steve said this week. He said, we've created this standard over the last 2 years. Now we have to live up to it, and you got to do it every week, and we'll do it week in and week out.
Created the monster, you got to feed it.
That's right. You've done a great job today, I think, explaining some of the things from a coach's perspective in the coaching carousel, as well as what it takes to go on the road and win. Always appreciate this. This is always fun. Let's do it again next week.
Thank you. Appreciate you all watching because we're having fun and hope you are too.
We are definitely having fun doing this. All right. He's Mack Brown. I'm Bob Ballou. We'll get our quarterback, Vince Young, back next week with another special guest. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. We'll see you next week.